everyone, welcome to 90 Degree Turns, where we expand the minds, beliefs, and perspectives of the collective and awaken the sleeping many from their slumber. My name's Tricia, and today we have James Gilliland at the ECETI Ranch in Washington. So James, welcome. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh God. Well, I'm an author, minister, counselor. I'm the founder of ECETI, and I don't know, I've been doing this for a long time.
All right. So with ECETI, maybe not all of our viewers are familiar with the different types of extraterrestrial activity and contact that happens on the ranch. Would you be able to kind of paint us a picture of how you got started and what led you down this path to create a ranch like this?
Yeah, definitely. We have a saying that contact comes with enlightenment, and so we also have a saying that just because you're dead doesn't mean you're enlightened, and just because you're an ET doesn't mean you're benevolent. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that are saying that it's all good, it's all love, it's all joy, it's all bliss or whatever, but you know, that's kind of unrealistic. It's like a half-truth. It's very unrealistic. And it's the height of irresponsibility to make statements like that, because we know throughout our history, and if you're aware of your own soul history, that not all ETs are in our highest and best good. You know, you had the Orion Wars and all kinds of other skirmishes going on and power struggles and things like that. So, you know, to make claims like that is kind of ridiculous. But, you know, there's so many different groups out here. We work with the fifth dimensional ones on up, mostly Pleiadians, the Orion Council of Light, Arcturians, Andromedans, Syrians, the feline beings. We work with all those, and we're one of the first people to bring the feline beings out to the forefront and telling people about who they are and the return of the benevolent Annunaki, and giving people the big picture of what's going on, because the Earth is going through a massive transition. It's a natural process. There's more energy coming into the Earth right now than we've ever seen before. The cosmic rays are off the scale, gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet, everything. And we're moving into a highly energized place in space, and it's creating a quantum leap in evolution, and we have to become frequency specific to the shift that's going on. It's like an ascension wave, or they call it the ninth wave, or the wave of unity consciousness. The Mayans did, and we're in the middle of that right now, and so we're undergoing some extreme challenges, and the benevolent ones are here to help us with those challenges. The malevolent ones are here to keep the slavery, suppression, oppression, disease, and war going. You know, they feed off of that. So, and again, it's very irresponsible not to recognize that. It's the reason there's so much inhumanity on the planet right now is because there's a lot of non-human interference and influence happening.
So what would you say for some people that maybe do stick with the belief that everything is love and light and that there isn't anything negative that exists? Let's say they happen to attract a negative entity of sorts, and it latches onto them. What do you suggest they should do to, I guess, get rid of the unwanted entities?
Well, we train people, and that's part of self-mastery. We train people how to heal unseen negative influences, how to maintain your self-authority, how to you know, safeguards for bringing in very clear information and things like that. Because again, you know, when I was with the Tibetan Foundation, the best channels there were doing 70%, and these are trained channels. And now all of a sudden everybody decided they want to become a channel. This is in the mid-70s. Everybody's like, I'm going to become a channel, you know, I'm channeling Archangel Michael, and you know, they keep going on and on. Well, channeling is only as pure as the mind that it's coming through, and it's only as clear as the being that you interact with. And so if you don't know how to heal unseen negative influences and keep your fields clear, anything is jumping in, and so that's why the information gets all skewed. And a lot of people are in it because they want the notoriety, they want the attention they didn't get as a kid, or things like that. So your come from is so important. You have to realize, where are you coming from? You know, are you doing this to get acceptance and approval outside of yourself, or to fill that gap you didn't get as a kid? Or why? We have to really get brutally honest with ourselves and say, why are we doing this? Are we in total service to humanity, Earth, or is it all about self-service and notoriety and money? You know, so it's very important. We have to constantly reevaluate, our come from or where we're coming from. And realize too is in this process our stuff comes up. The more you engage the higher consciousness and energy, the more your own issues come up. So we have to constantly keep ourselves clear so we can bring in the clearest messages possible.
And with these kind of clearings to do, what do you exactly mean by that? You mean by saying certain kind of mantras or having a particular diet or?
Well, one thing is we do process-oriented therapy, so it's very good to clear any, like wounds and traumas and wrong conclusions from past experience, childhood traumas, things like that. Go in there, clear that out. Get in touch with your own main teacher and guides. We all have a main teacher and guide. Some of us have multiple guides. And get in touch with that and make sure you're working with beings on what they call Buddha consciousness or Christ consciousness level. Mm-hmm. Then you bring them in and you make a very good relationship with them so you can bring them in at any time and clear out the unseen negative influences. Mm-hmm. And it's a prayer basically, and it's very simple. We welcome them in love and light. We tell them they're healed and forgiven, lifted and enlightened. We tell them they're filled and surrounded in the Christ light. You can say Buddha light, Kuan Yin light, whatever you feel comfortable with, and the Christ love. And then we ask them, the beautiful many, to take them to their perfect place. And so they come and they pick them up and take them wherever they need to go. And it's much more realistic. You heal through love. Love's the ultimate power in the universe. And when you try to cast out demons or devils or whatever, they just go somewhere else and they mess with somebody else. So it's very good to clear them, and you have to get more and more proficient at it as you become more enlightened, because the closer you get to nirvana, the more the demons rear their ugly heads. So
because they know you're doing something
it's like the brightest light in the neighborhood is going to get the most moths. Mm-hmm. And so that's just the way it is. So it's like moths coming to a flame. The brighter your flame, the more responsibility you have is to clear what's within your fields. And some people don't do clearings and they get taken over, and then they start doing the disempowering program, and it becomes all about them, and they become narcissistic, and they give themselves a name that separates them from the rest of creation, and it just goes on and on. So the higher you go up in consciousness in the planes and dimensions, the less identity there is. And some beings are a collective. They don't have personal names. They're just like the Laka, 11th dimensional beings or 13th dimensional beings. When they come in, they call themselves a group. They don't say, they don't even have a name. It's not.
That's so different than how we live here.
Exactly.
It's so different.
So you can tell a person's awareness is by how attached they are to their ego, their name, and their personality self, versus how it's not important. It's just like identity isn't important anymore. And like I've had a couple near-death experiences, so as well, same thing with that. It's just like you become fearless, basically. I mean, your body still wants to live, and you still have the desire to continue, but you don't have that fear of death and all that other stuff that plagues most people. So you kind of got to lose your fear, especially if you're going to engage these other beings, because some of them don't look like us. They look really bizarre looking, and so you might have a really bizarre looking being that is like its 6th or 7th dimensional consciousness, and very wise, very loving, very ancient, but they may look a little bizarre. So you have to learn how to develop your own inner sensitivity so you can sense the nature of each contact and what they're about.
Wow, very, very interesting. So what would you say would be the most profound type of contact experience you've had? Since there are so many different kind of beings that do come here, and you even have the galactic medicine wheel outside and the Pleiadian circle, what would you say is the most profound experience you've had here?
I think the first ones were the most profound. Now it's just natural when it happens, and we're always connected. Once you connect like that, you're always connected. But when you develop yourself telepathically and develop the sacred gifts, it's just automatic. But I'd say the first ones were the most profound. I think first time I went on a ship and I was with the Pleiadians and actually went on board the ship, that was profound. The second one, when they took me out of body, I was actually in the bathtub meditating, and they sent a beam of light that hit me in the chest, and 3 gold balls of energy came down. and restored my memories and my consciousness off-world too as well. And that was really profound. And then they took me out of body up on the ship. So they can take you in different bodies. And I kind of have to explain that because, you know, we have a physical body, we have a mental body, an emotional body, we have an astral body or etheric body, and then we have other bodies, you know, in greater states of awareness all the way back to the source. And so we're not just a personality and a body, we're a soul, which is a spirit, and that spirit is multidimensional. So when we understand that, we can start connecting with these multidimensional beings. And when you get in the highest levels, there is no time, so it's like you may be talking to yourself, you know. So it's hard to wrap your head around that, but
could be a future self talking to yourself right now.
Well, yeah, I was meditating, and my soul came to me, and it was this huge Viking guy, you know, and his face was burnt, and it was pretty intense, and it freaked me out, and he told me, I'm your soul, you know, I'm on your soul level, and he had some healing, some clearing to do still, you know. And so we cleared that up, and now he's this robed Viking guy. He's like a high level being, and then he came in and introduced me to Tasamara, and then Tasamara would be my like Christ self, and then so I met him, and Tasamara's telling me I'm you, and I'm going, how can you be me? My soul is over here, and you're saying you're me. And then Ezekiel came in after that, and then I said, I'm having a meltdown, you know, here, like, my identity crisis, who am I, what the hell is this all about?
There's all these different versions of you.
And then he said, it's all you, you know, and that's ultimately, that's the end game where it's all you, you know, there's no...
different tiers and levels.
Yeah, you're one with the one consciousness that encompasses all consciousness on all planes and dimensions throughout the multiverse, and that's who you really are at the core of your being. And so when you access through the heart, your soul sits right here, your soul's connected to the source and your multidimensional selves. So that's why they say it's through the heart, you know, it's not through the mind. Like, it's not through, even a parrot can repeat scripture, it's not through scripture, it's not through the mind, it's by meditating and making your own personal connection with source. That's how you do it. And, you know, nobody can do it for you. And no book is going to take you there.
There's no shortcut either.
Yeah, there's no shortcut.
You just have to do the work.
Yeah, there's no drive-in avatar programs. A lot of people like you think there are, but you know, you're not going to. You become an avatar in a weekend. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work that way.
Wow, very very cool. So, earlier you were mentioning about you had different near-death experiences, and how you kind of got through your fear of death. Would you say that the fear of death itself is a programmed experience into the human collective or consciousness?
Yeah. Also, too, it's cellular memory. It's like we've, you know, as light beings, when we entered the physical and entered the body here, we had no concept of survival, or pain, or hot and cold, and we didn't have physical bodies. We had no concept of that. And so when we did finally enter the body and start cruising around down here, we got connected to all that, and that trapped us here. And so through the many wars and all the other things that happened here when consciousness fell, everybody got caught, you know, in this loop. And the fear and the survival, the guilt, the unworthiness, all those programs actually hold you down so you can't reconnect with the source. And get off the karmic wheel, this wheel that we're on. So you have to transcend all that, and then you're out of here. You know,
you're free of it all.
You're free, yeah. And then you may choose to incarnate again and get lost again and do it all over. You know, which a lot of people have.
Would you say that can a soul just come in at one time, be done, and just go right back? Is that possible?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of souls have already done it. So
yeah.
Here's a hard thing to comprehend. People believe we climbed out of this primordial ooze and became a multi-celled creature, and the next thing you know,
we're monkeys.
Yeah, we were like an amphibian, and it became on land, and then evolved from there to, you know, this whole story is a myth.
I mean, even Darwin himself,
Yeah.
He has said if there's any kind of contradiction to what he says, just discount the entire theory that he's created.
And
with
they said through
science and-
random mutation we
Mhm.
became this, you know.
Mhm.
Doesn't work that way. So there's not enough time to randomly mutate into the body vehicles we have now. There was a knuckle dragger on Earth that was evolving naturally here, and there were beings that came, you know, thousands. There's beings that have been coming back and forth to the Earth for 600 million years. Advanced beings. We know that. We have the artifacts, and so there was a lot of interaction with the knuckle dragger. It started in Australia with the Denisovian man. The Annunaki came down, added their genetics to the Denisovian man, and they continued to upgrade it. And then a kind of a big turf war broke out between Enki and Enlil. Enki was the all-loving creator god that wanted everything to flourish and evolve to its highest potential. Enlil was the jealous, wrathful, genocidal guy that just wanted everything to stop and end. And he wanted to end the experiment. So that is the source of our bearded god legends and religions. When you have the bearded gods in the ancient histories, that's where that came from. And it's replete throughout history, you know, throughout the Vedic scriptures, and all the scriptures talk about, you know, these very tall beings. You know, most of them had cone heads. They're very large. And those are the ancient Lyrians that came here a long time ago. But, you know, most of humanity, that group began in ancient Lyra, and they went from there to the Pleiades, the Orion, the Hades system. And they came from here to Earth, Mars, and Maldek. Some people call it Malona, and that's the planet that blew up. That's the asteroid belt because of excessive wars and misuse of technology. And they almost did it again in Atlantis and Lemuria. They almost did the same thing. So again, that was another fall, you know, misuse of technology. They had the self-serving people that wanted to control and dominate everyone and everything and use their technology to do so. And then they had the beings that worked on the law of one, more the Lemurian consciousness, where everybody is family. And we all support each other, and we help those less fortunate to rise to their highest potential. So there are two different mindsets, and they clashed. And so you have the legends of Atlantis and Lemuria, you know, but that clash was it set things in motion. It actually cracked the plates and you know, created the Great Deluge and everything, because that was all from misuse of technology.
So then what do you think is the way for our humanity on this earth right now? Because we do rely a lot on technology. AI is getting bigger and bigger every single day. I mean, there are these heavy influences, and on top of that you have chemtrails in the sky, pretty severe vaccine things going. It's kind of like repeating itself.
Yeah, it's like Atlantis all over again.
Itself.
Yeah, it's the same thing. And I think we're figuring it out this time around. We're not going to go for it. And
hopefully.
Yeah. So I would hope so. But it's the same program. You break it down to two things. You know, they say you break everything down to love and fear, basically. But you break it down to two things: self-serving and service to others. And self-serving is based on fear, basically. I'm not getting enough. I need more. You know, it's based on the ego. Look at me. Look how fancy I am. Look at my new car. You know, like I'm above the rest. You know, that whole program. But it boils down to self-serving versus service to others, basically. And that's where we're going right now. And everything is opposite right now. It's really weird. The people you thought were in service to others and are actually doing the self-service thing. The people that we thought were self-serving are actually empowering each individual and in service. So we've done a full flip, you know, and I don't want to get political, but it's pretty obvious around there. One party is so deceptive, it's just lying and deceiving and stealing and embezzling, and it's off the scale. It's insane. And I'm not saying they both do, but one party does it on an extreme level, and the other parties is coming to clean that up. So I wanted to talk a little bit. You know, people call it draining the swamp, but there's multi-dimensions to the swamp. It's not just politicians and businessmen and you know, humans down here doing satanic ritual and child trafficking. There's so many other layers to this, and so it's a multi-dimensional problem. And when you climb the ladder of power and wealth, if you're not of extremely high character, it ends up corrupting you. Like, you know, what's it? Perfect power corrupts perfectly. I can't remember how that goes. But people don't realize that as you climb that ladder of power and wealth, you know, you end up with the banksters and the Illuminati guys and things like that. And then it goes above that even, because they've done rituals and ceremonies and they've sold their souls to these other beings that are negative grays. They're reptilian beings, like serpent beings, things of that nature. So there's a multidimensional thing happening here. The good news is all the benevolent ETs, even the benevolent Annunaki, are returning, along with the Syrians, which are the protectors of the gods, the lion beings, and the Andromedans, the Arcturians, the Ryan Council of Light, and all these other people are jumping the Pleiadians too, and they're going to do a major reset. And so everybody's talking about the economic reset. There's a bigger reset going on above that, and that's what we see in the physical. We see the physical resetting because another reset happened on another level. So there's a huge cleanup going on, and the higher dimensional beings are coming in and cleaning up the unseen negative influences, the puppet masters, and the puppets are failing right now. They're just falling apart because they don't have that connection anymore. They've lost their power base.
Do you think that the people who have lost who are in the kind of negative aspect of things, do you think they consciously know that they've kind of invested themselves into such lower vibrational
Some of them aren't even there anymore.
energies?
Some of them aren't even present anymore. There's nothing there. There's no humanity left there. They're just a puppet. They're like a shell.
Wow.
And the other entities are operating them.
So
And
that
they
they're
can't
just
even
a
access.
meat case
Yeah,
kind of
they
thing,
can't even
and then-
access their soul. They've been cut off from that. And so their soul's off over here, and they're over here, and these other entities are coming down this way.
Wow.
So there's nobody home, and you can't reason with these people. You try to reason with them and use logic and use compassion. It doesn't work with
I mean,
these beings.
if their soul isn't there anymore,
There's nothing to work
then
with.
who are you going to be talking to? You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. So when you say that the benevolent beings are coming down and helping Earth raise its vibration and humanity as a whole, do they have to do that with our permission, or is there a universal kind of law that lets them come in and, I don't want to say interfere, I feel like that has a negative connotation to it, but
Yeah.
to be a part of what's going on here on this Earth?
Well, here's the key to that. People talk about the prime directive, and all that stuff, and you can't interfere with free will and self-determination. But there are universal laws, and when you get so far out of balance, and in order to save a planet and a civilization, sometimes they do have to intervene and come in. And it's not fair to the Earth either. She has a consciousness, and to just let her be destroyed, that's not wise. But they try not to intervene. They haven't intervened for a long time, but now they have to intervene because the dark side has gotten so far out of balance.
It's just so extreme right
Yeah,
now.
it was
Especially this year.
Yeah,
Especially this year. Everything is just falling apart at the seams.
and it's good. Chaos is good because it means this other energy is pushing everything up to heal.
People are facing things now, and you can't hide behind anything.
No, yeah,
anymore.
you can't sweep it under the rug or ignore it anymore. It doesn't work that way. You used to be able to, things that you could just, I'll just ignore it to keep the peace and stuff. You can't anymore.
No, you have to choose a side.
It's in your face. It's like right in your face, and so people are having to choose. And I just see so many people working their stuff out in a lot of these movements, and this would upset a lot of people, but you have the Antifa, and all this stuff. Here they have a Nazi flag, and they're against Nazism, and they're sponsored by a Nazi. So
little conflict of interest.
yeah, and I go,
Just
how does that work? How does that work? And then you see all these people that are accusing everybody else of things in the political arena that they themselves are the most guilty of. And it's, and it's like the old 1 finger forward, 3 back. It's more like 10 back.
That's how it is,
Now it's 10 back, and they're still accusing others. And you watch this stuff, and if you're enlightened, you see right through it. And you go, oh my God, that person again. You can't even listen to them anymore because
it's just lies.
There's nothing that lies comes out of their mouth, and their frequency is so low, and they're gone. I mean, there's nothing human left there with some. So, but and also too, people get upset with this, but I'm doing this from a healing perspective. It's like the Metoo movement and the feminist movement. What is, the feminist movement, what does that have to do with the divine feminine?
The one that's currently happening, it
Yeah.
doesn't. It's
I mean,
full of hatred.
where's the love? Where's the nurturing? Where's that mother energy?
Mhm.
The profound love for nature
Compassion.
and compassion and the well-being of everybody. I mean, I'm not seeing it. I'm just seeing a lot of, excuse my language, piss and venom coming out of there, and it's scary. It's
There's a lot of anger.
a lot of anger.
And I can understand the Me Too movement. There's
Yeah.
reason to be angry about these things, but I think
Yeah.
the approach that they're going about it is, it's not. I don't see how it's beneficial, and
Well-
that might be upsetting to some people
Yeah.
because I am a woman and
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
within this realm.
Well,
But
see, here's the missing element there. Where's personal responsibility?
mhm.
Where's the educational process? Why don't we educate these people? Like these people go to Hollywood. I was in Hollywood for a while. I was helping people there. I was doing a lot of healing work and a lot of with a scientist, a German, I won't mention his name, and we were healing a lot of movie stars and things, of very serious illnesses and doing some crazy stuff there. And I was observing that whole thing. And I watched people just give all their power away and everything, their whole soul, for notoriety, for fame, and for the money. And that's their lesson. I mean, they have a lesson there. And they, the thing about, if you go, yeah, there's predators in there, yeah, there's all the couch, what do they call them, couch auditions, they call them couch, something like that, I don't know. But when I see all these people lined up to do that, I mean, lines and lines and lines of them when they're going to be shooting a
Just for the
commercial,
hope of fame.
or they're looking for the new girl to do this or the face of this, and they will do anything to get that. And what we really have to teach the women, and I shouldn't be even talking about, a woman should be talking about this, basically, we should teach them about self-love, about loving themselves enough, like honoring
Being
themselves.
whole and who they are.
Yeah, know how you don't need love and acceptance and approval outside of yourself. Find it within, and you wouldn't go to these. You would see how shallow this stuff is and how unfulfilling it is. And I hate to say it, but a lot of these, look at these young stars. They end up on drugs, strung out in the gutter. They use them. They cash in on them. They all end up short-lived, short lives. And
Oftentimes.
yeah, and it's sad, and that whole, and you have the whole satanic thing, the child pedophile thing going on there. All it's such a mess. It's such a convoluted mess. I don't know if the Me Too is enough. It's got to go beyond that. It's got to go into education, into personal responsibility. Like, okay, why did you take that path? Gain the wisdom from this experience.
Find a solution for
So
it.
you can't just keep playing victim over and over and over. Then you're on the wheel. You're never going to get off the wheel. So I do believe that there are sexual predators there. They need to be called out.
Yes.
But it gets to a point where you're afraid to even ask somebody out anymore. You're afraid to even crack a joke anymore. It's like
It might offend someone.
It's gotten so bad.
It might offend
Yeah,
someone.
it's
if you
gotten
crack
so
a joke.
bad. It's gotten so bad you can't even. It's like, and this PC thing is the most messed up thing I've ever seen. It stifles individual expression. It's
Agreed.
I get a kick out of people. It's like when I was in Australia. I mean, the stuff going on there. Some of it's a different culture. And some of the humor's pretty raunchy, like that. But I mean, I don't go and try to fix the whole culture with there, And, I just go, okay, it's
Accept
like,
it and
yeah,
roll with it.
yeah. This is what they do, and that's But anytime there's harm coming to another, then that's a different story, So I'd step in if somebody's being aggressive or abusive or things like that, definitely, But I don't know, this whole thing is all external again. People aren't going internal and healing with it. They aren't taking personal responsibility, and they're trying to get everybody else to join them in their victimhood and in their anger and venom and it's just like the venom movement. It's like. It's
But even
like,
for the women who did experience trauma, let's say,
yeah,
they're able. It is possible to work through your own trauma and go past it.
exactly.
Right. It just you have to make the choice of, okay, this did happen. It's really unfortunate, but you can keep on going. You can work through it and not have it be kind of like sitting on your
Yeah,
shoulder
yeah.
for a really long time, and then you get filled with like hatred and resentment.
Exactly.
So just working through it and like building your own consciousness and.
Yeah, get some street smarts, you know what I mean? And unfortunately, that's the way it is. You know, you got to get some street smarts. You know, you gain the wisdom from the experience, move on. Now I know what I don't want. You know, I know that there are. It's like Pleiadians when they come here. It's very hard for them. So if you have somebody who's a Pleiadian soul that incarnates here, they have no concept of deception or lying or even stealing or harming somebody else. That's not their reality at all. So they have a really hard time here when they come to this planet.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and they have to go, whoa, wait a second. You know, people don't always tell the truth. People often have agendas, you know. This person is just in it for self-gratification or whatever. You know, it's like, that's not part of the reality. But that is what's going on here. And so, you know, they have to toughen up. They have to get street smart. They have to get, you know, wise. The wisdom comes through experience. And so we have to realize there's two different cultures going on here. And so it's rough. And people go, why don't we have contact? That's exactly the reason why. Right there, because we aren't evolved enough to have that contact, you know. We need to create a sacred place where everybody's safe and everybody's respected and honored, and you know, and then we're going to have contact on a mass scale. There are pockets where that is, where they can come and have they are having contact, but if
on
we're
a mass scale.
yeah, but if we're going to
change before it happens.
Exactly. If we're going to bring these extremely spiritually and technologically advanced beings into our lives, we have to heal all these old wounds and traumas and patterns. And can you imagine this beautiful being, you know, appearing to some of these feminists? You know, it wouldn't be a very good.
Be quite the shock.
Yeah. They go, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, what are you so angry about? You know, it's like, I'm just, you know, exuding love here and sitting here. I'm not doing anything, and you know, it's just like. And the problem is, the more when you come into the presence of those energy fields, when you come into the presence of those fields, your energy, if you are a very enlightened being, is going to amplify everything. And so they are going to go through their stuff, because it's called sympathetic resonance. So if you have a being that's highly evolved, they call it the wake of a yogi. The yogi will come through, and his energy is going to trigger all kinds of things. And as he goes through, and then everybody's stuff comes up, and they all like this, you know, and then he waits till they're done, and then comes back around again, you know. So it's just the way it is that consciousness has a frequency to it. And the fear, the anger, the guilt, the unworthiness, the unresolved issues, the grudges, all that stuff have a very low frequency.
Do you feel that that is a part of just the third dimensional reality, or does that happen on different levels?
It's in the fourth dimension too, as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's
and
in
so
the
after
third.
that, it's kind of like just kumbaya.
When you get off the wheel, you get out of the fourth dimension. You know, you get past the psychic barrier, and you're in the fifth dimension. That's where it's unity consciousness. And there's a lot of people that are going to tell you, yeah, that I just got attacked by a 13th dimensional reptile and I cut his head off, you know. You know, and so everybody's going to flock to that story, you know.
It's sensational.
Yeah, sensationalism. But really, after the fifth, when you get into the fifth dimension, it's my understanding, and it's always proven to be correct so far, is that you can't get off the wheel and out of the fourth dimension unless you're in unity consciousness and you see the creator in all creation, including yourself. And that's Christ consciousness or Buddha consciousness or whatever. And so it's hard for me to contemplate a predator, you know, like...
that is in that high of a level.
Yeah.
A dimension.
Exactly. You know, so it doesn't make any sense. I know all the wars in Orion, all that stuff happened in the fourth dimension. That was all 4D stuff. It was in the lower fourth dimension, you know. And so I'm just not seeing it, you know. I'm not saying it can't happen, but you know, all the years I've been dealing with it, you know, almost all the craziness, the things that go bump in the night, and the discarnate spirits, and the negative ETs and greys and reptilians, things like that, they're all in the fourth dimension, the lower fourth dimension.
So when you say lower fourth, there's different tiers within a dimension?
Yeah, if you
kinda like
have
layered?
yeah, the fourth dimension, the very lowest parts of the fourth dimension, that it's in the infrared, it's the unseen realms.
Mhm.
There's everything from like demonic type people, grossly disfigured people, some very nasty greys and reptilians and things. And these are written on Egyptian walls. It's in the Nag Hammadi. Everybody talks about that. And then you have in the middle, it's everybody just reincarnating, kind of the mid fourth dimension. People are just finishing their stuff, getting through their crap, whatever,
Okay.
unresolved issues. And then in the higher fourth dimension, you have guides and teachers and things like that. But they're stuck because they have some belief in cultural separation. They haven't transcended all culture or religious and other programs yet. So they're still in the fourth dimension. You have some cool people on the fourth dimension, but they have programs. One might have a religious program going or a cultural program or something that they haven't let go of yet to get off the wheel. And so, but after you get off the wheel, everybody's on the same page.
And so that's once you enter fifth.
Yeah, you get into
dimension is
fifth
the unity
dimension. Yeah,
consciousness?
that's in unity
So
consciousness.
that's when it's a level playing field.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. So where do you see humanity going? I mean, do you think the way things are going right now, that we're kind of, especially in 2018, there's all these extremes and people have to, I guess, choose a side, and they have to see what's going on, whether it's the truth or not. They're
Yeah.
going to be put on a side, right? Do you see that humanity is ascending, or that can we stay neutral? I mean, do we kind of have to go one direction or the other
Yeah.
eventually?
We have to become frequency specific to the process, the ascension process, or we're not going to make it. So, I love what he calls this hamburger universe, and he said we have this weird concept of this hamburger, and heaven's on top and the top bun and hell's
Yeah.
we're the meat in the middle, But it's almost kind of like that because the earth itself is ascending, and she's raising, and actually these Pleiadian, what we would call Gaia or Mother Earth, has actually merged with a Pleiadian counterpart, which is the same as Gaia would be to us. And they've merged, and she's ascending and going to the next level, and so the earth itself is ascending. The higher dimensional planes are pressing in. They're pressing in. What's in the middle in that thin layer is social consciousness and the negativity, all the other garbage going on.
Programming.
Yeah, and it's being compressed. So it's being compressed right now, and it's like a pressure cooker, and it's gonna boom. It's gonna blow, and it's a matter of letting go. It's just like, okay, I'm going to let go of all grudges, all anger, all fear, guilt, unworthiness. Connect with your own personal God self and get through this process. And I've seen, my brother was telling a story the other day about this woman and this breath work that came to him, and it won't mention any names, but she's going, you're going to have fun with me, because my husband just left me, I lost my house. My dog died, and she goes through this whole thing.
There's a lot going on.
This whole thing, and she's going, "You're gonna have fun with me. This is gonna be a mess, He goes, "Yeah, we'll see what." He goes, "I don't know. We'll see what happens." And all of a sudden, she just started shaking like this, and all of a sudden, just like everything just went through, and next you know, she had this big grin on her face, and she's totally blissed out. And her own God self came in, just the big eraser.
Cleared it out.
And it can happen that fast, but most of us aren't ready for that.
You just have to be open to it.
Yeah.
To just press the erase button.
Yeah. Most people are going like this. Okay, I'll test this out, and I don't want to step out of the herd. I don't want people to know I'm doing this, or it's like they're still running that program. I'm not, because we bring a program with these images of God, that one is a jealous, wrathful, genocidal maniac, the Old Testament God. And the New Testament, with Jesus brought the new covenant, was the all-loving, all-forgiving God. So what is it? Is God schizophrenic, or were those two different gods, And we have to start reading our history book with an open mind, our religious, everything, with an open mind. And there's a lot of intervention that happened in the past And almost all the religions are based on these bearded gods and how they interacted with humanity. But that's a very primitive understanding. We need to grow up and realize that there's a bigger story, there's a bigger picture going on, and get out of these old programs.
So when I look at a lot of different like older paintings of religious figures, they tend to have this kind of like halo around them. What do you think that is? I mean, does that mean that they're enlightened, that they've got connections to other beings? I mean, because it's all throughout history and paintings. I mean, there's many halos around.
Most artists can see other dimensions, and a lot of artists, when you're in touch with that creative energy within yourself, and these other beings were very enlightened beings, so their auras were just glowing, and that's what they're drawing, the fields around them.
Okay.
And the auric field, basically, and which you reach a certain level of enlightenment, this old prophecy has said they shall come down from the mountains and their hands will be glowing and their hands and heads will be glowing, and they just reach a certain level of enlightenment, and that comes with the territory.
Interesting. Cool. Is there anything that you don't typically talk about that you'd like to bring up?
Oh God, a lot. No, it's really rough right now because people are holding on so hard to their beliefs and their belief systems, and they're not really looking at where those came from or how they got those belief systems, especially if you're watching like CNN or MSNBC, all those. You're watching TV, and that's what you're basing your belief systems on. God help you, because that's just nothing but nonsense. And we need to do our own research. We need to research ancient cultures, ancient civilizations. I'm talking about really ancient, pre-Diluvian, which you're digging up now in Antarctica, to find out what our true roots are, the real history of Earth, and come at it from that understanding, and then you'll have a greater understanding of what really happened. And a good example, here's a good example. This shiny disc comes out of the firmament. It has bronze feet like calves. It has fire and brimstone come out from underneath it. When it lands, it sounds like 1,000 rushing rivers. Okay, if this is in the Bible. So what is that?
A craft.
A craft, of course it is. What else could it be? And then, now this goes further, then a man steps out and he orders 6 of his men with their shattering weapons to go destroy the whole city of Israel and kill the men and women, children of Israel. So these 6 men go and they just totally destroy the village. I mean, the whole city there. So how can 6 men destroy a whole village? I mean, they had to have some pretty badass weapons, basically. And so anyway, and then he orders a man dressed in all white linen, a white suit, protective suit basically, to reach in the bowels of a cherubim and spread hot coals around the city. And he said, henceforth, everybody will die a hideous death, their hair and fingernails will fall out, and there'll be food for the raven and the beast, And so he's talking about the next 100 years. It's radiation, basically. And what else would do that? Radiation. A guy dressed in all white linen, he had a protective suit, and he spread radiation about. That's the origin of the wrathful God. That's where that came from. So who was that? We have to ask, who was that? And who created him and his group? I mean, there's something beyond even that. And that's the big questions we aren't asking.
So then it makes me think with the whole topic of radiation then. So when you look at like things like Fukushima and all that, would you say that was not just an unfortunate accident, but it could have been a planned event?
It was, yeah. It's false flag, just another false flag. Can you imagine the people that would do such a thing, though? And then you say there's no evil. I don't know them,
and I don't want to.
People say there's no evil, and there's no.
Yeah.
There is no evil. Come on, what are you talking about? Look at the.
The horror.
Look at the inhumanity. The reason there's so much inhumanity is because there's non-humans involved. That's the baseline, and that element is being cleaned out right now. And all of its connections, its fingers come down through politicians and banksters and all that stuff. That stuff is being cleared out. most humans are good by nature. Most of us just want to take care of our families. We want to make our own personal connection with Source. We want to be out in nature. We want to have clean food, clean water. That's basically what we all want. And all this other stuff is just a program. And we've been extremely manipulated to get off track from that. And we have a right to that. We have a right to, living under universal law, which is basically universal peace and brother, sisterly love and individual freedom and prosperity for everybody. And that's what's coming with these advanced civilizations. Universal law is returning. They're bringing that conscious and energy in, and they're enforcing it as well right now. And the earth was created to be an Eden, where everything could evolve to its highest potential, and it got hijacked. Well, the reset is putting it back on track.
Mm-hmm. And earlier you mentioned about how Earth is ascending up.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean that everyone is automatically like a shoe-in to go? They're just everyone's going together, this is one big family? Or is there a chance that like whoever is on the negative side of things, that they'll stay on this third dimension while the new Earth will go, that is formed already in, is it the fourth? That people will just ascend up to there, and so there'll be kind of two different Earths in different dimensions, so they won't really be like...
Babaji was saying a long time ago, he said there'd be like a bifurcation or something like that. There'd be a split.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard for people to wrap their head around, but there's already worlds within worlds within worlds. There's at least 8 Earths right now, and it's hard for people to comprehend that. Now when we do Qigong and we're doing the practices, you see people's bodies disappear. And you can see right through them, they're already moving from one frequency to another, and they're going out of phase. Well, these other Earths are just out of phase from each other.
Mm-hmm. It's like a radio frequency. They just you can't perceive them because you're not on that that specific dial.
Yeah, and so what happens is people are going to phase out, and other people are going to continue. You can see that today in today's society, that the people that have not chosen to ascend, you might say, or rise to the occasion, they're not frequency specific to the evolution of Earth and where she's going. Their worlds are imploding. Their kingdoms are crumbling. Things are not working out too well for them because they're trying to run the old programs. And so we have to find process-oriented therapies where we can heal the old wounds and traumas and wrong conclusions from past experiences. We have to let go of all the grudges, anything that's not in alignment with unity consciousness and universal law, and move in that direction. So the more we rise to the occasion, the more our kingdoms will flourish, and will be a part of the new world, whatever you want to call it. The ascended Earth. I don't definitely want to say New World Order because that's what's going down. But anyway, it's just that shift that's happening, and shifts happen. It's like
all the time.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being on our show today, and I really appreciate you taking the time out to speak with us and to help our viewers know more about what is going on in our world today, because these are turbulent times, but we're going to get through them. So thank you so much, James. I really, really appreciate it.
Great.
And we'll hopefully be talking to you soon.
Sounds good.
All right, thanks.
All right.